What's happening, everybody? Sorry for the slightly delayed start time, but up and running all the same. Had to work through some technical stuff, but I think we're all good right now, so appreciate everybody's patience. Welcome to Week 10. Football season is halfway over, right? Once tonight kicks off, we are in the second half of football season. We wait some more for the season to start, and then it's over in the blink of an eye. It's not over yet. But it is halfway over with Week 10 starting tonight. And, playoff race is officially in focus for a lot of folks. Hopefully everybody's in good shape, or hopefully more than not are in good shape. Hopefully everybody, at the very least, is alive for the playoff race. Hopefully we're not staring down any 1-8, 2-7 situations, unless it's a deliberate dynasty rebuild, of course. You don't necessarily care about a bad record in the midst of a rebuild. But we got Week 10 on the books. We got Raiders, we got Broncos taking you up until kickoff. We'll, of course, as always, go over the latest injury updates that we have that may help determine some start-sit questions that are surely starting to come into focus for everybody as they start to take a look at their lineup with the first game kicking off tonight. So we'll look at injuries, see if there's anything specific to react to based on the injury updates, and then we'll take your questions. We'll just be looking at Thursday practice reports, because that's the most up-to-date information that we have. Kicking things off with the first update that I saw earlier today. Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin not participating in practice on Thursday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've both been out for like a month at this point. The bye week was last week. They're not practicing. Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin are not playing in Week 10. You can fire up Rachaad White as a low-end RB1 based on usage, but not the matchup. Emeka Egbuka will continue to get all of the opportunities that he can handle and is a low-end wide receiver 1, if not a mid-range wide receiver 1, just again based on volume. Cade Otton is on the streaming radar at tight end. Because, on top of no Chris Godwin, Tampa's not going to have Mike Evans for most of the rest of the season, if not the rest of the season outright. The Lions plan to get Isaac Tesla more involved in Week 10. I don't know if that's coach speak. I don't know if that's, we're going to do whatever we have to find more opportunities for him because he's earned it in practice. So something to monitor for dynasty leagues mostly, but I guess those deeper leagues out there as well that are looking for dart throws to take a chance on as the season progresses. Matthew Golden limited in practice on Thursday. Okay. Brian Thomas not practicing for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Thursday. He is now officially looking likely to miss Week 10 for Jacksonville in their matchup. Who's Jacksonville playing? Who do they have? I'm going to kick myself once I see it because I have looked at it 1,000 times at this point. Houston on the road. Okay, so best of luck to Trevor Lawrence in that matchup. No Brian Thomas breaking in Jacoby Myers in his first game with the team. Yeah, that's going to be a situation to avoid this week. Rico Dowdle practicing on Thursday after not practicing on Wednesday. That probably is a rest day. I think we can expect Rico to not practice too many more times on Wednesdays this year. He has taken over. I think it's fair to say he has taken over that backfield. Chuba Hubbard is the RB2. Perhaps Chuba breaks in as more of a 1B as the season progresses, as we move closer to the playoffs, as he gets healthy from the injury that he suffered earlier in the year. But for now, right now, this is Rico's backfield. You can continue to fire him up as an RB1 until further notice. Garrett Wilson will play in Week 10. Not the most spectacular matchup against the Browns, but you're probably firing Wilson up into your lineup if you can. DeAndre Swift will return for Chicago this week against the New York Giants. You can fire him up as, probably maybe on the RB2 radar, but possibly on the lower-end RB2, maybe even high-end RB3 flex radar, if we are to believe that backup Kyle Monangai is to get more opportunities even with a healthy Swift. I think it's fair to say that can be expected given the coach speak from Ben Johnson earlier this week, if that's to be believed. So Swift can go back into your lineup, but maybe temper expectations a little bit. But it is a good matchup. A.J. Brown is practicing on Thursday. If you recall, the Eagles' bye week was this past week, week 9. A.J. missed week 8, tending to a hamstring injury. He then declared himself active and ready to go for Monday night against the Packers. So A.J. Brown back in the lineup, seemingly, for Philadelphia coming out of the bye week. James Cook returned to practice on Thursday. He did not practice for Buffalo on Wednesday with knee and ankle injuries. Just ankle injuries. Sorry. Not trying to give anybody a scare. Just the ankle injury. Probably just monitoring and nursing and giving Cook rest where they can. Returning to practice. He is back on track to suit up for Buffalo this week. Michael Pittman fully practiced on Thursday, so he's looking to be in good shape to suit up for the Colts in Berlin against the Atlanta Falcons. Some offensive tackle updates. Lions right tackle Penei Sewell, limited in practice on Thursday. I didn't realize he was on the injury report, but limited on Thursday should put him on track to suit up for Detroit in Week 10. Let's see. Ollie Gordon limited in practice on Thursday. So Devon Achane's backup is getting healthy. Terry McLaurin not practicing on Thursday. I've mentioned this multiple times dating back to last week. Terry McLaurin is probably not going to play again for Washington until after their Week 12 bye. So, you already knew that you needed to make other plans for Terry McLaurin. Practice reports continue to confirm that. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt fully practiced on Thursday. He was limited, I think, with a tooth injury. You don't see that too often, but that was the designation, a tooth injury on Wednesday for Krosky-Merritt. He practiced in full today, and his game status is not in doubt. What is in doubt is how much we can trust him, and I don't think it's that much. That's right, they're playing the Lions. Yeah, no thanks. Aaron Jones limited in practice on Thursday. He looked good in his return from injured reserve last week against the Detroit Lions, so I think it's fair to say Aaron Jones is probably going to go back for 1A opportunities, and Mason will back him up. Ramondre Stevenson, Kayshon Boutte not practicing for the second straight day today for the New England Patriots. So Ramondre already missed last week with a toe injury. Back-to-back missed practices would indicate he's going to miss again. You can go back to the well with Travion Henderson as an RB2 with some upside. Boutte being out, I guess, opens up maybe a few more opportunities for Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas. I do think earlier in the week there was a call from one just lost my earbud. The coaching staff talked about Kyle Williams potentially getting him more involved. So if we're to believe that in any way, shape, or form, maybe that happens this week if Kayshon Boutte can't go. And again, I'm firing up Henderson as an RB2. It is a tough matchup, though, against Tampa Bay for Henderson. Not the best matchup on the road. He'll have to likely come through as a receiver in this game, which he can do. We saw that last week. We knew that was a part of his profile, his talent profile, his skill set, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Travion's going to have to do that this week in a tougher matchup against Tampa Bay's front seven. So, that should keep his floor actually somewhat decent. This one was a disappointing one to see. Browns rookie tight end Harold Fannin, with a hamstring injury designation, did not practice today. Fannin was not on the injury report yesterday, at least not anything that I saw. Now downgraded in practice today with a hamstring injury. Midweek, mid-stretch of practices, adding an injury designation is never a good sign. That is not a good feeling. Keep tabs on Harold Fannin if you're relying on him or if you were planning to lean on him, whether as a starter or a stash. going into Week 10, especially obviously if you plan to start him. Fannin officially up in the air for this week with a hamstring injury, suffered today. Not great. Nick Chubb limited in practice on Thursday. Okay. Saquon fully practiced on Thursday. Saquon, I think, picked up a groin injury in the latter stages of Philly's Week 8 game. So he had the bye week to get right. He's good to go. A full practice on Thursday confirms that. Same deal for Quinshon Judkins. Picked up a AC joint sprain injury, I think it was, in Week 8. Similar to Saquon, Judkins had the Week 9 bye to get healthy, get right. He has no injury designation for this game. He will start for Cleveland against the New York Jets and must be in your lineups. Obviously, same with Saquon. And Puka is fully practicing today. There was optimism about Puka coming out of last week's game. He did suffer some rib injuries against the New Orleans Saints. They held him out later in that game because the game was well in hand. But fear not, Puka still did work for you. Got that 40-yard touchdown among other elite production, which he typically does. We can expect him to suit up once again for the Rams this week on the road against the San Francisco 49ers, a huge divisional game. They'll be looking for some revenge. I believe the 49ers beat the Rams earlier this year in L.A., if I'm remembering that correctly. So the Rams will have Puka in a revenge situation. Those are the injury updates that I have. If you have any other questions about injuries, these are the ones that I've seen. I'm not sure about any other updates about anybody that has been on the injury report, but I just covered those that I see based on the underdog ticker. See if there's any others here. Just got like a couple of new notifications. I don't think it's anything we haven't already looked at. Okay. Another offensive line news, Mekhi Becton for the Chargers limited in practice for the second day in a row. So that would indicate that he's tracking to a return for L.A. That matters. Those types of updates matter because L.A. has had significant injuries along their offensive line. They are now down both starting tackles for the rest of the season. Already lost Rashawn Slater at the beginning of the year. Joe Alt, season-ending ankle surgery. I don't know if he had the surgery yet, but it was confirmed earlier this week that he needed it. He will not play the rest of the year. So getting a guy back like Becton would be good news. All right. It is time for y'all's questions. As always, for those of you who have been here before, welcome back. You already know, or I hope you know. Those who are here for the first time, welcome in. Members will get first priority, faster responses, first priority to questions and comments received. No matter when they send their questions, it could be minutes after a non-member question. I will get to the member questions first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You can find more details about becoming a member of the channel in the first link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. If you are not a member, maybe you're a member, but whether you are or not, if you send a super, that would also be a way to jump the line and get your question responded to in priority order if you are feeling generous enough. If you are, whether or not you are a member, I will get to your question, but I do ask for some patience from the non-members as I work through the members and super questions first. Regardless of whether you are a member, subscribed, here for the first time, whatever have you, if you are enjoying the stream, the conversation, all that good stuff, if you could just like the stream, that helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. I see Fortune, re-upped, appreciate you. I see Crumply Heads, I see Evan, I see Bobby, I see Sport Dog. So shout out to all my members. Appreciate seeing all you guys and everybody, of course. Let's get into it. Crumply Heads has a choose 4 question in full PPR. J-Mo, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Jennings, Wandale, Slayton, Downs. I'm playing A.J. Brown. I know it's been like pulling teeth. I know he missed week 8. I know the vibes are weird. It's still A.J. Brown. I have to go back to the well with him. And he's had 2 weeks off 2 weeks off from football to get right, get healthy. Big matchup against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau on Monday night. I want big-time players in big-time games. This is that. So give me A.J. Brown. Pittsburgh has the Chargers. Pittsburgh has the Chargers on Sunday night. J-Mo and the Detroit Lions have Washington. Jennings gets Brock Purdy back, I guess. And no Ricky Pierce. I'm pretty sure Ricky Pearsall won't practice. We haven't received all of the West Coast practice updates yet. Those do tend to come in a little bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that Ricky Pearsall is still not practicing because San Francisco, another team, did they have their bye week? No, they didn't have their bye week last week. Regardless, Ricky Pearsall hasn't played for in a month. I'm not really sure why they just didn't put him on injured reserve. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I'm going to go ahead and assume that he's out for this week. So Jennings gets a boost there in theory. And Brock Purdy is, I think, tracking to play, so that would also be a boost. Wandale gets the Chicago Bears and is always a little bit more enticing in full PPR. So that's probably another guy that I would go with. I would go with A.J. Brown. I would go with Wandale. I don't know that I want to double up on Giants. But it is a great matchup against the Chicago Bears. And then Josh Downs is in Berlin against the Atlanta Falcons. All right, Crumply Heads. I'm playing A.J. Brown. I'm playing Wandale Robinson. I think I'm playing Metcalf. You know, at least he's the Steelers' wide receiver one, and it is a primetime game. I think it's not too bad of a matchup for Metcalf. Oh, shoot. Right. He's playing the Chargers. That actually is a less than ideal matchup, actually. So the Chargers have been rock solid against wide receivers this year. A.J. Brown, Wandale Robinson. I'll say Jennings in a big matchup against the Rams. No Ricky Pearsall. Brock Purdy coming back. I'll say Jennings. And then I will say J-Mo against Washington. It's a good matchup. It's a good matchup. And J-Mo got going last week. I know I just mentioned that that the Lions want to get, I almost said Ben Johnson. He's with the Bears now. The Lions said that they do want to get Isaac Tesla a little bit more involved this week. You know, I'll believe it when I see it. Not that the coaching staff isn't trustworthy, but I mean, okay, who are you gonna take off the field for Tesla? J-Mo? I mean, I guess you could put him in 3 wide receiver sets. But then, yeah, what's that volume look like? J-Mo's still going to get more of the opportunities, more of the targets. So I guess I'm not worried about that. I will say A.J. Brown, Wandale Robinson, Jameson Williams, and Jawan Jennings. That's where I'm going. Bobby, PPR. Crazy to bench Sutton. It's not crazy, but I don't know that I would do it for any of these names. I think I would play Sutton over Tet, over Slayton, over Watson. You know, first of all, it's a great matchup tonight for Sutton. He's going against the Las Vegas Raiders. They give up top 5 production to opposing wide receivers, meaning it's a favorable matchup. It's a great matchup for opposing wide receivers. You know, Tet gets the New Orleans Saints at home. That's a good matchup as well. But, you know, I guess Sutton's a vet. So I guess I kind of trust him a little bit more and I trust Bo Nix a little bit more. Bo Nix isn't having the best year, but I think I trust him a little bit more than Bryce Young right now. And then Watson and Slayton, I mean, those guys are closer to dart throws than sure things. Like, yes, they're talented. Yes, they can make big plays. Sutton's got the track record. I would still play Sutton over those other three guys. I would play Sutton over those other three guys. Tet would be the closest one. If you really, really don't want to play Sutton, Bobby, then you can play Tet. I wouldn't play Slayton. I would not play Watson. You could play Tet. I think I just prefer Sutton. Slightly more trust in the quarterback. Better pedigree for the individual player, Sutton versus Tet. And, they both have great matchups. Vegas is a good matchup for opposing wide receivers. New Orleans is a great matchup for opposing wide receivers. I'll take the vet with the pedigree. I'll take Sutton. But if you really, really don't want to play him, then you could pivot to Tet. I would not pivot to Slayton or Watson. Quentin Johnston, Coleman, Coker, Butte, let's see, and Sport Dog. You have London, J-Mo Pickens, Allen, Shaheed, Shakir. Nobody. You're not that. No, nothing. You're not doing anything, Sport Dog. You're keeping all those. You're keeping all those wide receivers. I mean, you're not dropping London. You're not dropping London. You're not dropping Pickens. You're not dropping J-Mo. You're not dropping any of these guys for any of those dudes that are listed. Quentin Johnston is the closest thing that I could be interested in here. If you want to switch, Quentin Johnston for Keenan Allen, that's fine. But honestly, that's personal preference. It could be one week where Quentin Johnston does well, another week where Keenan Allen does well. If you want to bet on the player that's playing a little bit more frequently, that would be QJ. But I'm not dropping. That would be the only thing. Otherwise, I'm not making any moves for any of those other wide receivers. Keep who you have. Evan, what's going on, Greg? Good to see you, man. Evan has Gibbs, Bucky, White, and Genty. Well, you're starting Gibbs every week, no matter what. Gibbs is always a lock. Genty gets the Broncos tonight. Not a great matchup. Rachaad White gets the Patriots. And Evan, what's the scoring? Is it full PPR? That matters. If it's full PPR, I think I prefer Rachaad White. I may still prefer Rachaad White just because this Broncos defense is tough. If it's full PPR, I might go Rachaad White. If it's half PPR or standard scoring, then I guess I would go Genty. They're pretty close. It's full PPR. I would probably lean Rachaad White. He's more of the pass catcher. It's a shame that you can't start all three of these guys, Gibbs, Rachaad, and Genty. And Bucky's not playing this week. He's been out for a month. He's not practicing coming out of the bye. He's gonna be ruled out. I'm pretty confident in that. I would say White because it's full PPR. And Gibbs is a slam dunk. Genty is solid. He has not had the best of seasons compared to expectations. And this is a tough matchup against the Denver Broncos on the road on a short week. If I have to sit one of these guys, I would sit Genty. And you're already sitting Bucky because he's not playing. Yeah. Gibbs and Rachaad White. Greg, are you going with Dobbins tonight? Probably. It's a great matchup against the Raiders. Yeah, you're playing him over Woody. You're playing him over Aaron Jones. You're playing him over. Yeah, no, you're good. That's what I would do. I would play Dobbins over Aaron Jones. It's a great matchup. Obviously, RJ Harvey has officially carved out like the receiving back role. Dobbins isn't going to get any opportunities as a pass catcher. That's just not going to happen. But the Broncos are, I think they're like 9 or 10 point favorites tonight, depending on where you look. The expectation is they will handle their business at home against an inferior team. It is a division opponent, so you never know. But if you're to believe that the game will go as expected, not that it does, but the Broncos are the better team. And if they do have a lead, they're going to be running the ball in the second half. That's going to increase the chances that Dobbins gets into the end zone. He's a solid floor play. He's a solid floor RB2 tonight. He's the type of guy that you want to play in games where you think the Broncos are going to be winning the game in the second half, specifically at home against opponents where on paper they are better than that team. On paper, the Broncos are better than the Raiders. They should handle their business at home. They should be running the ball in the second half. Dobbins should get a solid couple goal line opportunities, if not in the first half outright. So, yeah, you're playing Dobbins. Any more updates? None. And no new injury updates. Okay. Let's see. And Tez Johnson doesn't change my answer. But always include who you want to include in the question. Thoughts on Debo rest of season? I mean, I guess I prefer him to DJ Moore just because Debo's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the next 3 weeks at least. Don't know how serious Terry McLaurin's injury is. So Debo is wide receiver 1. It's not a good situation with Marcus Mariota taking over as the starting quarterback for at least the next 4 weeks. I think they didn't put Jaden Daniels on IR. But I think it's fair to say we're going to see Mariota for at least a few games. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd rather have Debo than DJ Moore and Alec Pierce, just because he should get a wide receiver 1 role. It might be muted as far as how effective the Commanders' offense is, but Debo should be getting as many touches and opportunities as he can handle. Moore is a complimentary piece for the Bears at this point. Rome Odunze has leapfrogged him on the depth chart, and other guys are getting more involved, so it's tough for Moore to, lay claim to like a consistent role at this point. And Pierce is, he's up and down. He's a little inconsistent. Although it is a much better offense that Pierce is on. So if you prefer to have the piece on the better offense, then that would be the Colts. That would be Pierce. But definitely not DJ Moore. Okay. And Bowers is we're all rooting for Bowers to continue to be that stud tight end 1 that we drafted him to be. And then really quickly, one more question here from Sport Dog. I'll keep an eye on more member questions, but then I will go back up to the top to finish these off, to finish off the non-member questions. Monangai and Warren over Stevenson, Allen, Marks, and Shakir. If it's full PPR, I might go Shakir. I do like Monangai, but he's gonna cede work to DeAndre Swift. So he's going to operate as the team's RB2. Shakir and Keenan Allen are closer to starters or more regularly involved players than Kyle Monangai is likely to be with DeAndre Swift back in the mix. I would probably put Shakir ahead of Monangai, and I would put him in the starting lineup, especially if it's full PPR. Road game for the Bills, division game, beatable matchup against Miami. Yes, passing volume may be a bit of a concern just because of the lopsided matchup, at least on paper, but it's still a division game on the road. I would expect Allen has enough passing volume here for a perfectly fine, perfectly normal fantasy relevant day. Shakir would be a beneficiary of that. Oh, it is in full PPR. Sorry, you said that at the top. Yeah, I would play Shakir over Monangai. Warren is fine to keep in the one flex spot, but I would put Shakir in over Monangai. Shakir is good in full PPR, and I despite the mismatch on paper, I like the Bills to throw the ball. Well into the second half of this game. To handle their business against a division opponent on the road. I would play Shakir over Monangai. Okay, back up to the top. Appreciate everybody's patience. Trade Javonte for Kyren and Harvey. Need to win now. So 4 and 5 is obviously not the most ideal spot to be in, but you're in okay shape. You're either right on the cusp. You're either right on the inside or the outside of the playoff race, which it's not a bad spot to be. You have Javonte, you have Bam Knight, you have Mason who has fallen off, you have Jones who might be useful this week, but he's maybe more of an RB3 than RB2. Benson is still hurt. Tootin's a backup. Davis is a backup. You could fill out in theory your running back depth with by trading Javonte and acquiring Kyren and Harvey. I don't hate it. I mean, Harvey gives you a little bit more upside than, he certainly gives you more upside than Tootin and Davis. He probably gives you more upside than the Vikings running backs. Yeah, I mean, and Javonte doesn't help you this week because it's his bye week. Okay, yeah. I don't hate it. Is there anybody like? Yeah, I mean, he is the pass catching back. Harvey is. I guess my question is, can you make this trade happen before the game tonight? Can you make the trade before the game tonight so that you, in theory, could use Harvey this week? Because if you can get Harvey, then you might as well take a shot on him at home, getting the pass catching work and swing for the upside. What's the status of Aaron Jones for this week, actually? Oh, did Aaron Jones get hurt? I thought Aaron Jones was back healthy this week. Hang on a second. Did I miss something with Aaron Jones? Hold on. Questionable. Okay, he returned to practice today. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I read that report. Okay, he's limited. So Aaron Jones, in theory, is a guy that you could pivot to, but he is banged up. He is banged up. So that makes Mason tough to trust and Aaron Jones. Yeah, I think I would make this trade. I think I would do this because like you said, you could use a win now. Javante's not going to help you this week. Kyron is a slight step down, but not a significant step down. And Harvey is better than some of the other guys that you currently have rostered. If you can make the trade happen tonight and therefore use Harvey in a good matchup against Vegas, I don't mind that. I'm taking a look at Harvey's usage over the past couple of weeks. I know he's been scoring touchdowns, but I do think Dobbins is still dominating snaps. Yeah, man. He's still only getting like a 32%. Last week he had a 32% snap share. So like, does that come back down to like the 25% range? In a home game tonight? Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't want to fall. I guess at the end of the day, you kind of are in a bind with running backs this week with no Javonte, so you don't want to be staring down 4 and 6. So I guess you can increase your chances of having a more competitive group of backs this week if you do make this trade. So yeah, I would try to make it happen if you can make it happen before tonight's game. And then in theory, you could fire him up, honestly. Because Jones is volatile with the injury. Mason is volatile because Jones is back. Bam didn't do much. Benson's hurt. Tootin's a backup. Davis is a backup. Yeah, if you can make the trade happen tonight so that you can play Harvey tonight, I would be okay with it. Yep. Oh, and need an RB and a flex from Woody. Harvey, Henderson, Fannin, Loveland, Pierce. I would play Henderson. I would plan to play Henderson as your running back because Ramondre doesn't look like he's going to play. Back-to-back missed practices this week. So Henderson would be my running back. And then, honestly, I might make Woody gets Jacksonville. And Nick Chubb is back practicing. I'll say Henderson as your running back. Fannin picked up an injury. He's on the injury report this week, so he's officially volatile. I guess it's between Loveland and Pierce. I'll say Alec Pierce. Good offense in the Colts. Cole Kmet is practicing, so Loveland may not get a full-blown role, even though Kmet suffered a concussion earlier this week or in the game last week. I'll say Pierce. I'll say Henderson and Pierce. You need a wide receiver 2 and a flex in full PPR. And 1 point for 5 yards rushing. Franklin, Jennings, Charbonnet, or Horton if Kupp is out. Franklin is in a great matchup tonight. I would probably go Franklin, honestly, because no Marvin Mims. Mims is out once again. And it's a great matchup against the Raiders. So I think I would play Franklin tonight in your wide receiver 2 spot. And then between Jennings, Charbonnet, and Horton. Charbonnet against Arizona at home. Horton Horton, we got to see what his role looks like after the Rashid Shaheed trade, even if Cooper Kupp sits. I think I would play Jawan Jennings as your flex. I would put Franklin in your wide receiver 2 spot because he's playing tonight. So put the Thursday players in their position spots. Leave the flex spot open for Sunday just in case. And I would put Jennings in the flex because no Ricky Pearsall and he's getting Brock Purdy back. So I think he's the preference of these options for me. Franklin and Jennings is where I would go. I got the member questions. Start 4 of 5. Igbuka, Ladd, Rome, A.J. Brown, Henderson. Dang, that's a difficult choice to make. Wow, those are some good options. I mean, Igbuka's coming out of the bye week against the Patriots. I like that. He's definitely in. I know Rome goose-egged last week, so I know he's a little tough to trust. I'll say play Travion Henderson because no Ramondre Stevenson. I'll take Ladd because Ladd has caught fire recently. He's been, let me just check his game log, but Ladd I'm pretty sure has been rock solid recently after a somewhat slow start to the season. Okay, last week wasn't great, but last week wasn't great. 4 for 56, but at least 5 catches in his previous 4 games before last week. He's getting a little bit more involved. It's a good matchup against the Steelers. I'm playing Igbuka. I'm playing Ladd. I'm playing Henderson. It's between Rome and A.J. Brown, and honestly, all 5 of these guys are startable players. It's between AJ or Rome. Definitely starting Igbuka, definitely starting Ladd, definitely starting Henderson. And I don't know if AJ was a limited or a full practice participant today, but he did say that he was going to play. I guess did Rome return to practice today because Rome missed yesterday. Limited practice on Thursday. I mean, I guess you could go either way. If you want to play a Dunze because A.J. Brown missed the previous game and the vibes have been weird this year, that's fine. If you want to go A.J. Brown because he's got the track record, the pedigree of being one of the better wide receivers in the NFL when he's on, and I don't think he's lost a step. I think it's just been like something of a weird season on offense in Philly. Honestly, it's a coin flip, but it's probably between those two. Rome is maybe the slightly healthier one, if you prefer to go that route. AJ is, I think he's in the better offense, but it is an offense that wants to run. That being said, this is a tougher matchup against the Packers. It could be a shootout. I think I slightly lean AJ Brown. I think I slightly lean Rome as your sit, but you have a lot of excellent options. A lot of excellent options. Standard scoring. Harvey, Swift, Monangai, Henderson, Charbonnet. Definitely Travion Henderson, even in standard scoring. I'll take the guy who's going to lead his he should lead his backfield this week. Ramondre is not going to play. And then I'll say DeAndre Swift because he's going to lead his backfield as well. Monangai is probably not going to lead the backfield, at least not yet. And it's a good matchup against the Giants. Harvey does not lead his backfield at all. He has been making splash plays, but he's not seen the field a ton. Charbonnet is seeing like 50% of the opportunities in Seattle's backfield, but they're not running the ball very well. And Charbonnet in particular, I think it's just kind of an okay talent, not a great talent. I'll say Henderson and Swift. And then I have I got a member question from Bobby. So I see your questions. If I haven't gotten to it yet, I promise I will, but I got to do member questions first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. Yeah, you always want to be looking to acquire handcuffs, but at the end of the day, you still got to clinch the playoff spot first. So, if you have a guy like Wilson, if you have Jacobs and you have a clear-cut dude that you can drop, then sure, you can drop for Emmanuel Wilson just to protect yourself. But it also depends on who you're dropping. You don't want to drop a viable player who could be helping you get to the playoffs, because you still got to get there first. You could be dropping a viable person that can help you now at the risk of stashing Wilson, who ends up not helping you, just for the sake of protecting yourself with Jacobs. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It depends on who you would be dropping to make it happen. But because you're 4-5, I'm less inclined to drop a guy who I think could help me or potentially end up in my starting lineup over the next 2 to 3 weeks. And right now, Wilson is not projected to be that guy. So it depends on who you would be dropping. Okay. Full PPR. Start one wide receiver, one flex. Dobbins, Vidal, Johnston, Dobbs. And you're definitely using Dowdle. I would play Dobbins tonight. The Broncos are favorites at home. The Raiders give up a lot of rushing touchdowns. I know Dobbins isn't getting any receiving work, but I would plan to play Dobbins at home in a game where the Broncos are favored. Vidal gets the Steelers. He didn't really do anything last week. Johnston is also in that matchup. He gets the Steelers. Good matchup. For Johnston. Really good matchup. The Steelers give up a lot of production to opposing wide receivers. And then Dobbs against the Eagles. Could be actually a pretty good play. Keep in mind the Packers are no longer have Tucker Kraft. So they're going to need other guys to help pick up the slack. And, of course, the first thought is going to be Luke Musgrave, who is the backup tight end, but what if it's just more work for the wide receivers? So Dobbs is an intriguing option here, actually, in a game that could have shootout potential. I ultimately think my answer is Vidal and Dobbins. That would be the safe play. If you want to swing for a little bit more upside, if you feel like you're an underdog and you want to swing for some upside, then maybe go Quentin Johnston. These are all pretty solid plays that are all in good matchups. So unfortunately, you may have a player or two go off on your bench, but I think I would go. I think I would go Dobbins at home, just banking on some volume in a game that I think the Broncos are going to win. And I think I would go. Oh, you have to play one wide receiver. Johnston. Actually, well, yeah. Okay, sorry. Let me amend this. Let me amend this. I will say Dobbs is your safe play, and Johnston is your more aggressive wide receiver play. Dobbs should pick up a lot of, should pick up some solid production in full PPR. He may not make a big play, but he should have some decent volume. Johnston may have lower volume, but could make a big play. He could make a big play. So, Dobbins in the flex. And if you could put him in a running back spot and move one of your current running backs to the flex to just keep your flex open until Sunday, I would do that. I would put Dobbins in a running back spot. Always put your Thursday night players in their position spots. Keep your flex open for Sunday or Monday just in case. Injuries, whatever have you. I would put Dobbins in the flex, though, and I would play Dobbs as your floor play, safe play. I would play Johnston as your ceiling play, aggressive play. And then the Jags or the Bucks defense. Bucks have a good defense. I don't really want to play against Drake May, though. Jacksonville is going to face Davis Mills. C.J. Stroud has already been ruled out for this week with the concussion, so Davis Mills is going to draw the start. And there's the update that Puka is healthy. The Bucks are coming off their bye week. So I do like that. I don't love that they have to that they have to go up against Drake May. But they're not going to have Ramondre Stevenson. They're not going to have Kayshon Boutte in all likelihood. So they're banged up. And they've been pretty good at home, actually. The Bucks have been. They've been pretty good at home. Jacksonville gets a good matchup against Davis Mills. They've been more inconsistent. I will say Tampa. I'll say Tampa. It's not as good of a matchup going up against May, but it's not bad. They're a good defense. They should be able to generate pressure. And the Patriots are banged up on offense. Sit Genty or Dobbins tonight. Dobbins is in the better situation. Genty obviously is the guy that we have higher expectations for. I guess it depends on your risk tolerance. If you want to go low risk, like low risk, decent reward, that would be Dobbins. High risk, high reward would be Genty. Genty's ceiling is higher, but the Raiders' offense holds him back, and it's not a good matchup against the Broncos. So for me, Genty's floor is lower. However, he's the better player. He's the more talented player than Dobbins, so his ceiling is higher because of the talent. Dobbins is your floor play if you want to play it safe. If you feel like you're a big favorite or even a solid favorite and you like the rest of your team and you feel good about your matchup this week, then I would maybe play Dobbins. If you want to be aggressive because you feel like you might be an underdog, you need to take some shots in your lineup, you're willing to eat some low scores because you need to shoot for some big ones, then that would be Genty. Genty's the one that can give you the bigger play. Lower floor, higher ceiling. Dobbins is more of the floor play. Let's see. Trade deadline. I mean, Nico Smith, McCaffrey, Barkley, Goddard, Olave, Debo, McLaurin. Keep Jalen Warren, that's for sure. Keep Jalen Warren and keep Kenny Gainwell. Keep that together. I think this is pretty good. I'm not crazy about Olave rest of the season just because of how bad the Saints offense is. I would maybe try to move him for, like, let's say a Zay Flowers, like just a more stable situation, a more stable offense, one that I feel like it's gonna compete all season long. That's gonna have more scoring opportunities on a case by case basis. And with no Rashid Shaheed, Olave can be keyed on by opposing defenses even more than he already was. I would maybe look to move Olave for a wide receiver in a better scenario, but if it's not a dire thing that you have to do, it's just a suggestion. Otherwise, this looks good. Running backs are strong. I would maybe try to move off Olave or Debo, just because Debo's also in a less than ideal situation, but he's not going to have as much value. And then who to start? You're starting Debo. You're starting Jaylen Warren. And I would start Devontae Smith. I would sit Olave. I know Olave has been solid and he's been rounding into form over the past few weeks. I just don't trust this Saints offense. They are not often in scoring position. No, it's not a bad matchup against Carolina, but it's not a good offense. It's not a good situation. I want to play players in better situations, if not, or just more talented players. Nico is a talent level tier break higher than Olave. Jaylen Warren has been awesome at running back this year. You're firing him up in your flex. And I would play Devontae Smith, who has been awesome, is in a good passing offense when they want to pass the ball anyway. It's a good offense. If not a frustrating one. And they're playing the Packers on Monday Night Football. There could be a lot of points scored in that game. Give me Nico, give me Devontae, give me Jaylen Warren. Rest of season, Harvey or Henderson? I mean, right now, Henderson, but ultimately it would be whoever gets the larger opportunity. Because right now they're both the backup. They're both the change of pace player. So they're not going to, and they don't look like they're going to take over the backfield unless something happens to either Dobbins or Ramondre. Ramondre is the one missing time right now, so I'll say Henderson by default. But my answer could flip-flop if Ramondre comes back healthy and, excuse me, holy smokes, excuse me there. If Dobbins were to miss time, knock on wood, obviously don't hope it happens, but if that were to happen, then Harvey would be the guy that I would rather have. It's like both are good stashes. Right now, it's Henderson because Ramondre is the one that's missing time. But that could flip-flop if Dobbins is the one who misses time and Ramondre comes back healthy. Got something caught in my throat there. Would I start Franklin tonight over Breece Hall? If it's full PPR, I guess that's fine. I don't really want to do it in half PPR. Obviously, it's not a great matchup for Breece against the Cleveland Browns. But if it's half PPR, I would probably still roll with the talent. Breece is the better player. So in standard scoring and half PPR scoring, I would take Breece, but full PPR might tip the scales to Franklin. I guess it depends on your scoring. I would say Breece in half or standard scoring, and I would say play Franklin if it's full PPR. Is Isaiah Davis a drop? If you don't have Breece and you want to take a shot on a guy that might be able to help you this week, then sure, that's fine to pick up DeMercado. The Cardinals offense can be trusted a little bit more now that Jacoby Brissett is the starter, not Kyler Murray. DeMercado got more opportunities last week. That could stay the same in Seattle this week. Torrey Horton just got added to the injury report as questionable. Let me take a look at this one. Ricky Pearsall not practicing Thursday. That is official. He will not play this week. Brock Purdy limited. He's tracking to return. Cooper Kupp limited in practice on Thursday after missing practice Wednesday. But now Torrey Horton is not practicing on Thursday, dealing with groin and shin injuries. Torrey Horton not practicing today. Not a great development to see him missing practice midweek. After not being on the injury report yesterday. As of right now, do not plan to rely on Torrey Horton. Friday's practice reports could change that. We hopefully see him practice tomorrow and therefore put him on track to play against the Arizona Cardinals. But Torrey Horton not participating in practice today with multiple injuries, groin and shin. Not great. But yes, if you want to drop Davis for DeMercado is more likely to help you this week. That's fine. I'm fine with that. And Bobby, would I go with the Rams or the Texans defense this week? Houston's at home. LA's on the road. Both are good defenses. Houston's defense is better. Jacksonville is probably not going to have Brian Thomas. They're already without Travis Hunter. Trevor Lawrence is not that good. And he's going to throw the ball to Jacoby Myers for the first time. First career game with Jacksonville. They're down Brian Thomas. That's not a great spot for the Jaguars offense. I'll take Houston. I don't mind the Rams, but they are on the road. And they are playing Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. So I'm not as I think they're fine this week, but I'm not as excited about them as I was last week. I'll take Houston at home against a banged-up Jaguars offense, Bobby. Give me the Texans. That Torrey Horton injury update is so disappointing. Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he's all right. Okay. Jacoby Brissett or Bo Nix. You are starting Franklin. Nix is a guy that I feel a lot better about than I did last week. As you maybe know, I was advocating for Jacoby Brissett over Bo Nix last week because of the great matchup against the Dallas Cowboys for Jacoby and the tough matchup for Bo Nix against Houston. It is a completely different story this time around. Beautiful matchup for Bo Nix. Tougher matchup for Brissett. He's playing very well. But I think Bo Nix is a little bit more on the start radar, and Jacoby's a little bit more on the Superflex/Stream'em radar. I would play Nix tonight against the Las Vegas Raiders at home. It's a great matchup. The Raiders defense is very beatable, much more beatable than the Houston Texans defense. I think Bo Nix will have an easier time tonight, playing a much, a less talented defense at home. I would go Bo Nix this time around. Woody, Tracy, Jones, or Bill. I don't trust Bill against the Detroit Lions with Jaden Daniels out of the game. I don't trust Woody. I don't really trust Tracy or Jones either, but Tracy's in a good matchup against the Chicago Bears. Aaron Jones returned to practice today. He gets a good matchup at home against Baltimore. Tracy and Jones. I'll play Tracy and Jones. Their matchups are better. I don't trust Woody. He's in a full-blown committee with Nick Chubb, and I don't trust Bill with no with no Jaden Daniels. And then Trey Tucker or Charbonnet. Tucker, tough matchup tonight. Charbonnet. Trey Tucker, an expanded opportunity tonight. Charbonnet, hasn't been great. Not as good of a matchup. I'll take Tucker with no Jacoby Myers. He was traded. I'll take Trey Tucker tonight. He's got as good a chance as any to be the Raiders wide receiver one. Obviously, Bowers is weapon one at tight end, but Trey Tucker has as good a chance as any of the Raiders wide receivers to be their wide receiver one rest of the way. I'll take Tucker. Wandale or Tet McMillan. Wandale against the Bears. Tet against the Saints. I guess I feel better about Tet this week at home against New Orleans than I did about him last week on the road against Green Bay. I'll say Tet. I'll say Tet. I liked Wandale last week at home against the 49ers, but I'll say Tet. He's at home this week against the New Orleans Saints. I'll take Tet McMillan. Lamar or May? I'll take. It's gotta be Lamar Jackson. You have to play Lamar. I mean, I know Drake May's been awesome, but you have to play Lamar. You have to. If Lamar is healthy, he's in your starting lineup. It's him, it's Josh Allen, it's Jalen Hurts. Mahomes is on bye this week, but I guess he would be in that conversation too. But it's like those are the guys where it's like they have to be in your starting lineup. Obviously, Drake May usually fits that bill, but it's Lamar Jackson we're talking about. It's got to be Lamar. It's got to be Lamar. And then Tet or Wandale over Breece. I would probably, in standard scoring, I would probably go Breece. Since you don't get the points for the receptions, I would probably go Breece. But I do think Tet will have a better day, a decent day at home against New Orleans. Breece is your floor play. Tet is a little bit more of a ceiling play if you think you need to be aggressive, if you feel like you're an underdog. Yeah. Trade Steedy, Addison, and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for what? Stephon Diggs might... No. Unless I'm acquiring CeeDee Lamb, no, that's... If you're the one trading CeeDee Lamb, absolutely not. If you're the one acquiring CeeDee Lamb, then absolutely yes, smash accept. But I want the Lamb side, and it's not close. I think this is kind of lopsided. Lamb is far and away the best player in this trade. I want the CD side. I want the CD side. Countered with Javonte for Kyren and Henderson. That's better than Kyren and Harvey, I think. I'm pretty sure that's better. To me, that's better than Kyren and Harvey. I would say yes, absolutely do that trade. I would absolutely do that trade because Henderson, I would start him with way more confidence this week than Harvey. Yes, that's even I like that even better for right now, for you to try to string together some wins right now. Henderson's going to start this week. Yeah, I would absolutely do that trade. Javonte for Kyren and Henderson, 100%. 100%. I would take that offer right now. I like that quite a bit. Javonte's had a great year, but Kyren's not too far, Kyren's not too far down the totem pole as far as tiers and rankings from Javonte, and then picking up Henderson, who is an upgrade over all of your ancillary options, especially this week. Yes, I would absolutely do that trade. I would absolutely do that trade. %100. Evan, you're going to go with Genty. You can. Genty's the better player. It's just his situation stinks. Rachaad White is not as good, but I think his volume is pretty solid. Let me check. Sean Tucker got work last week not last week, week 8. Last week was the Bucs bye week. Sean Tucker got work in week 8 because they played the New Orleans Saints and they handled their business and they were running the ball to kill clock in the second half. That's why Sean Tucker got work last week. I do not expect the same game script, a similar game script against the New England Patriots, who are a much better team than the New Orleans Saints. I would expect Rachaad White to dominate snaps and touches in that game for Tampa Bay. I would not expect Sean Tucker to play much of a role. If that's your deciding factor, I do not expect Sean Tucker to have a significant role in the like he did in week 8, based on the opponent and how I expect that game to go, game script, etc. Yeah. Tougher matchup for Tampa against New England. Because of Drake May, right? That goofy lyric. It's got to be May. Because of Drake May, it's a tougher matchup for Tampa Bay. Think I just rhymed there. I'll start my music career with haste. Let's see. Yeah, no, I like that trade quite a bit. Well done if you were able to get that to go down. All right, we are at the end of the chat. So no wait time currently if anybody has any questions. Prior to kickoff, we got about an hour before kickoff, maybe 55 minutes at this point now. Let me see if there are any other practice reports, anything rolling in from the West Coast. Nothing yet. Again, in case you missed it, Seahawks wide receiver Torrey Horton added to the practice report today. Did not practice with the groin and shin injuries. This is a new development. He was not on the injury report yesterday. So we'll need to see Horton return to practice in a limited fashion tomorrow to feel good about his prospects to suit up against the Seattle Seahawks. For the Seattle Seahawks against the Arizona Cardinals. And even if he does get a limited practice in, he's a little tougher to trust now, being a late add to the injury report, a midweek add to the injury report. Not what you want to see. And Cooper Kupp was officially limited today, so things trending in the wrong direction right now for Torrey Horton, unfortunately. Okay, what else do we have? Love, Fields, McCarthy, or Jacoby Brissett. I may actually sit Love for a week now that I think about it because of the loss of Tucker Kraft. Um, I want to see what that offense looks like post Kraft before I go back to the well with Jordan Love. He should be fine. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. I don't know if Dontavian Wicks is returning to practice for them. But I may wait a week on Love without Tucker Kraft. I'm not playing Fields against the Browns. I guess that would mean I'm down to between McCarthy and Jacoby Brissett. McCarthy played well last week. Against the Detroit Lions. Now he gets Baltimore at home. That could be a shootout. Jacoby gets the Seahawks on the road. He's been on a heater. He's playing well right now. I think I'll give the slightest of nods, Bobby, to McCarthy. If you have to drop Love to play McCarthy, then maybe just play Love. I don't know that I necessarily want to lose him to waivers. However, it's possible that his ceiling took a hit with the injury to Tucker Kraft. So he may not be the same like low-end QB1 hold for the rest of the season compared to how we were feeling about the Packers offense prior to the Kraft injury. But I would probably play McCarthy. He played well last week. They get Baltimore this week. Playing Lamar Jackson could be a shootout, could be a lot of points scored in that game. I think I lean McCarthy of this group. Yeah. And then Brissett would be solid just because of how well he's playing. Evan, your brother needed a quarterback. You offered Stroud for Adams, but then you ended up getting Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I mean, Stroud got hurt last week. He's not going to play this week. Wilson returns this week. It's not a great matchup against Cleveland, but hey, you have a starting caliber wide receiver that you can fire up into your lineup, and Stroud is, a guaranteed 0 this week. So as of right now, it's fine. And you, obviously Adams would have been nicer, but Wilson's a solid consolation prize for a low-end QB, for a QB2 who has downside baked in, and now he's hurt, now he's injured. Like, I think you made out just fine. I think that was well played. You traded Gadsden and Caleb for Kittle. I don't mind moving off of Caleb because you clearly didn't need him, but I may have kept Gadsden. I know Kittle has the track record, but Gadsden has been unbelievable. And of course, Kittle has been hurt this year. So, depending on how you feel about like re-injury risks, technically Kittle's like a little higher. He was the tight end 6 in week 8, 4 for 43 and a touchdown. Last week he had 4 for 32. He does get Brock Purdy back, so that's good. And Pearsall's not playing, so, volume shouldn't be a problem. Man, Gadsden, overall tight end 1 week 7, tight end 4 week 8. He came back to earth a little bit last week, but still put up 5 catches for 68 yards. He's got 2 great matchups coming up against Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. I know that his bye week is coming up, but yeah, I think I kind of prefer to have Gadsden, to be honest. But, I mean, I don't mind the roll of the dice to Kittle. Obviously, again, he's got the track record. He's got the pedigree. So I don't mind it. I guess I'm just like, I guess I'm having, I guess I'm having like some recency bias of just how well Gadsden has been playing. So that's my only like drawback. So it's okay. It's not bad. I don't. It's not my favorite trade that I've ever seen. No disrespect, but like I don't. It could be fine. Kittle's getting Purdy back, so maybe maybe Kittle's numbers are about to go up. So it could work out. It could work out. Is Metcalf worth a late first? I don't know that I would trade Metcalf for a late first. Or how should I put this? I don't know if I would want to give a late first to acquire DK Metcalf. I might just hold my first round pick and hope it turns into a young, exciting prospect. I mean, in Dynasty, like, DK is going to turn 28 this year, right? So that's not bad just yet, but he's probably only got a few years left. And then the question for Metcalf is, what does that look like after this year? What if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back? And then, are the Steelers going to draft a quarterback, or are they going to find some veteran, swing a trade, make a random free agent signing? Like, I guess Rodgers could return. He's 41 at this point, though, and any year could be his last. And I think there was a report earlier this season that Pittsburgh would like to have Aaron Rodgers back next year, but that's a long way from now. A lot can happen between now and then. And that's, of course, if Rodgers wants to come back. So, he could come back, and Metcalf could continue to be his typical wide receiver 2 self, wide receiver 1 upside, wide receiver 3 downside. But if Rodgers retires or doesn't come back and the team moves in a different direction, maybe they go younger, maybe they bring a journeyman in, like, what does that look like? If I have a contending team, I guess I would hang on to Metcalf, but I don't know that I necessarily want to acquire him. If I have a contending team and I'm looking for pieces to add, I don't know if Metcalf is what I want. For just 1 year, like a 1-year rental, sure, but then I'm not trading a first-round pick. As a guy that could, if I'm trading a first-round pick, I hope I'm acquiring a dude that can be a mainstay on my team for years. I think I'd rather roll the dice on a late first-round pick than DK Metcalf. Let's see. Tyler Warren or Kittle? Warren gets the Falcons in Berlin. Kittle gets Brock Purdy back against the Rams. No Ricky Pearsall. I think I'll take Kittle here. Warren has been better. There's no doubt. But in this matchup against that Rams offense, and with Brock Purdy coming back, I'll take Kittle. Warren's actually in a tough matchup by the numbers, too. The Falcons are pretty good against opposing tight ends. So I'll take Kittle here. Between Tyler Warren and Kittle for just this week at least, for just week 10, I'll take Kittle. Kittle gets his quarterback back, and better matchup. And then pick one of this group. I would go Tet. I'll go Tet McMillan. Should handle a wide receiver 1 target share. I feel better about him at home against the New Orleans Saints than I did last week on the road against the Green Bay Packers. This is a much more favorable matchup. The Panthers, especially Bryce Young in particular, is better at home. They play better at home. They did have a nice road win, though, on the road against Green Bay. But Bryce Young puts up better numbers historically at home. I'll take Ted against New Orleans and his wide receiver 1 target share. Over, I don't want to play Shaheed in his first game with Seattle. He could be, he may only play a complimentary amount of snaps instead of a full allotment of snaps. Tez Johnson's an ancillary piece. Tet is his team's wide receiver 1. I'll play Tet. No new updates as far as injuries. And we've got about 25 minutes until kickoff. Let's see. And Bobby has Tet or Pittman. That's tough. That's truly a coin flip. Pittman has been really good. I like the matchup for Tet this week. Let's see what each of these guys has done. And Sutton is in this conversation too. In his last 2 home games, Tet has finished as a top 15 wide receiver. So that bodes well for Tet. Pittman plays in Berlin. And this is a tougher matchup by the numbers. However, Pittman is coming off of back-to-back wide receiver 1 weeks. He has been on the injury report as well this week. And Sutton has a great matchup tonight against the Las Vegas Raiders. However, he's actually been the least performing of these 3 guys over the past month. So while it's a great matchup and I think he should do just fine, if we're just based on recent track records, Sutton has been the worst of these 3 guys. I may play Tet here, Bobby. Pittman has been quite good. Sutton has struggled recently, although it is a great matchup tonight. He hasn't been as good. I do think Sutton will be fine tonight, to be clear, but I guess if we're looking for the higher ceiling, I think it might be Tet. Full week of practice. No, it's not a short week. Great matchup against the New Orleans Saints. And he has been a top 15 wide receiver in his past 2 home games. He's at home in a beautiful matchup this weekend. I think I'll take Tet. Pittman has been a wide receiver 1 back-to-back weeks as well, but this is a tougher matchup against Atlanta, and it's a neutral game all the way across the ocean in Berlin. I think I'll take Tet. I think I'll take Tet of these 3 guys. I would rank them Tet, then Pittman, then Sutton. That's where I would go. Yep, I would play Tet. Okay. We're at the end of the chat. Obviously, we've got about 20 minutes before kickoff, maybe more like a half hour. So I'm happy to still take any more any questions in the chat as we kind of wind things down. As a reminder, I will be live this Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, for Start Sit Help. So feel free to bring any additional Start Sit questions there, whether they are ones that you want to rehash from today or any new ones that may come up between now and then. We can talk shop. We can get your lineup squared away and good to go for Week 10. Probably won't have a start-sit stream Sunday morning. Once again, there's another international game. I think there's 2 left. I think it's like Week 10 and Week 11, and then that does it for the international games this year, I think. At least the ones that are taking place in Europe. And therefore, they happen super early. So we'll probably leave that spot open to watch the game. But I can be available in Discord as needed. That is the second link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. If you are not a part of the Discord, it is a free evergreen invite. You can catch me over there if I am not live and you have any questions at all about your lineup, about trades, whatever have you. But if there is nothing else, I guess I can shut this thing down a little early. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. Thank you to Fortune for re-upping. I didn't see any new questions, but appreciate the re-up all the same. Crumply Heads, Sport Dog, Bobby, Evan, Greg. I think those are all the members that I saw. Appreciate all of you for your continued support and everybody for coming in and hanging out this evening ahead of kickoff. Obviously, best of luck tonight if you've got anybody going. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully it goes your way. And I will be back on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Start, sit, help ahead of the full slate for Week 10. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the evening and the game.